Hello everyone, in this new tutorial about Diablo-like dungeon generator. In this video we are going to build a little logic that basically says, hey, I want to know where I want to find randomly the next spot to add a tile, and I want to build a certain amount of tiles. So we're going to need a new variable called tile amount, and this I want to use another terminology. We're going to use, and we'll see in the future why we use the terminology value amount. That's because with that terminology, we can give a value to the different tiles we spawn, like this 12, 20 and stuff like this, and we can decrease that value. And we can also use value like 1, 2, 3, 4 and still be good with this name. This is just about naming convention, really. So we want, how many tiles do we want? This right now, this is our number of tiles. So we want 3 tiles. So that's it. So when we generate the tile layouts, the first thing we do is creating a start tile. And then what do we want to do? We want to loop for as much tile as we have. So how many tile do we have? 3. So we want to loop 3 times. And we want to say for each tile we want to find random next location. So after creating the start tile, we want for as much tile as we have, finding where they are and adding them to our layout as as with empty connections for now. We're not going to talk about direct directions for now. These are going to be generic tiles. And where are they going to be? So this is going to be a pure function returning a vector 2. So found location. And this is going to ask for a starting location. And this is going to be a local variable called previous location. We want to loop. We want to say that our previous location equals the location we found. We're going to promote that to a variable. This is going to be called temp location, no, found location. And I'm going to use the same terminology without capital case for local variables. So we want to find a random next location using our previous location. Then we want to add a generic tile at that location. I'm using a temporary variable because if I was plugging this into that, it would rerun the function. And I don't want it to rerun the function, I want it to run it once. Excuse me. I want it to run it once. So we need to build that logic now. How do we find the random next location? For now, we just want to say find a random unused location around the starting location. So how do we do that? Simply by asking if simply by asking if, by breaking that vector and asking if the tile, if there's actually a tile, if there's actually a tile in x plus 1 or y plus 1, and then what are we going to have? We're going to have 01, we're going to have 10, and what else? What else is it going to be? What else is it going to be? Plus, yeah, of course. I mean, negative values. -1, 0, and 0, -1. Yep, that's it. That's what we're going to look for. We're going to need to find each of the tiles located here and find out if they are either unused or if they have a type. So basically, how do we do that? Simply by asking, so what are we doing here? We're going to do this plus that. So this says, is there, I mean, this says, is there a tile located at the south of the starting location? If it returns false, that means there is no tile. If it returns true, that means there is a tile. So we want to do that for each of these. How are we going to make it easy? We are going to say, hey, we want a local variable of, this is going to be an array of 2D vectors. So locations to seek. So this is going to be a 2D vector, an array of 2D vector. This is going to look for each of the values we mentioned here. So we have 1 and -1 and 1 and -1. And we are going to loop through this array. And we're going to make that a function. We're going to make that a function. So how are we going to make that? Okay, quite easily actually. We're just going to promote that to a function. This is going to be called isTileUsed. This is going to be a pure function. This is not going to be passed by reference, the key here, at location, and this is to return a bool is used. This is going to go in utility. Find random next location is going to be in rules, because for now it's not going to be quite complicated, but we're going to add much more logic afterwards. So isTileUsed is asking, is the tile at location is found? If it's not found, isTileUsed. If it's not found, that means it's not used. I mean, if it finds it, if we find if we find a tile at this location, that means it's used. So if we don't find it, it's not used. So For each location to seek, we're going to ask if the tiles around our location are used. If they are not used, we are going to retain that. We're going to retain each valid. We're going to retain each valid locations, and we're going to randomize between all of. We're going to randomly return one of these location as our valid location. So how are we going to do? We're going to say, hey, we want to get something in here randomly in range between the last index and the first index, which is 0. We're not checking if there is actually a valid location found, because I know for sure we're going to find. It's not going to be the case afterwards, but for now we don't care about that. So how it is looking right now, we're generating the tile layouts. We're adding a start tile, then we are looping 3 times, and each time we are saying what is your previous location. We are finding, so we start at 0. We are finding if we have tiles around 0. If we don't, we found our location. We add it to our list of generic tile, and we store that as our previous location, and we rerun that 3 times. And I want to try out because it sounds sexy right now. One tile. We only have 1 tile. Why is it so? How could it build? I think I know why. Because we never. How can it? So it generated styles like this. It did something like this. And what I did with the code I did, I don't expect this behavior. I rather expect something like this to happen, or like this, or whatever. But it's not supposed to go back on track. So why is it doing so? I will just make it so I can see what's going on more easily. So I increase the spring arm size, and I'm increasing my speed and my acceleration. And what it is doing. Okay, just pawned 1 tile. Why? I'm going to add prints. I'm going to print to string what is going on here. I'm just going to make it sure this does not trigger after the logic. Yeah, of course. So for the sake of hacking, I'm just making it so. So it's not about the layout function taking too long. What it is about? Why am I getting such results? I'm just going to print the location I'm finding. Excuse me. Okay, I'm finding oh. How can I find? I'm going to print it a bit longer. I'm there. It's telling me there are 3 tiles, and yet I'm only seeing 2. I'm not sure why. I'm going to print their location as well. I'm sure this has something to do with the logic, the mathematical logic I built previously. I'm just going to print that as well. I just want the vector. I just want x and y. Like this. I'm not sure how it can. It's like it's taking the first tile. Okay. I think it's obvious where I failed. I think it will be obvious to find where I failed. Find random next location. I think that's in the generate tile layout. It's like it's taking the first tile as previous location all the time. I'm just going to make sure of this. I know what's going on. I forgot something. When I'm finding a random location, oh no, I'm adding. Okay, I'm going to print what I wanted to print in the first place. Where was it? In generate tile layout. I'm going to make this red. The previous location. It's taking 1, then -1. It's taking -1, then -1, then 0, 0. How is it possible? Okay. I think that's just is style used. If it finds it, I know. This is the valid location we get. Not this. I was saying these are the valid location. We don't want this. These are the spot we want to check. We want to check the location, the starting location plus these spots, and I was just adding these spots to the valid location. So my bad. That's pretty obvious. So it generated something like this, and then it's bugged again. Why did it bug? Interesting. Oh, I know why. I think I do. I'm going to promote that to a variable. I don't think that's the problem. So this is a possible layout. This should not be a possible layout. Let's add some more. Let's build a print variable, a debug function. This takes a few parameters. We're going to use that as a debugger. real quick. So because I'm already lost in all the print string I'm using. So the tile location. So I want to append right here because I'm always appending stuff. So found location. I don't want the base value to be flat red. I want this to be blue by default. Found location like this. This is enabled by default. When you put one is enabled. Found location. I want this problem. This problem is solved. And found transform. This is not really a transform, but whatever. And I want the found transform to be the location to be blue and the transform to be yellow. I want that to last for 20 instead. So the last transform it's finding, the first transform it's finding is 00. It's spawning its first. It spawned its first tile at 00. I don't know why. And yet the found location. Oh, I mean, I'm going to print the type of tile I'm spawning because, of course, we're spawning our first tile at 0, 0. That's the start tile. So I'm going to print that. So how is this possible? I'm going to pause and to go back when I found.